approaches Florida, thousands of people across the country are still cleaning up from the effects of Helene.
Anita is asking who names hurricanes. Well, here is Victor Puente with the answer to that good question.
The National Hurricane Center provides those names. They don't oversee that process. The plan to name Atlantic hurricanes started in 1953. Before that, the names could be a little confusing. Sometimes they'd be named for saints or the places they damaged. But in '53, the National Hurricane Center came up with a list of names to be used for those hurricanes. At the time, they only used female names. In 1979, they started alternating those with male names. The World Meteorological Organization now oversees that process. There are 6 lists of 21 names, one for each letter of the alphabet, except for Q, U, X, Y, and Z. They reuse those lists every 6 years. That means the names that were used this year will be used again in 2030. But those names can be retired, quote, if a tropical cyclone by that name acquires special notoriety because of the human casualties and damage incurred. That's the reason there will never be another Hurricane Katrina or Sandy. Both of those names have been retired. Even though it hasn't happened yet, you can all but guarantee the name Helene will also be retired. Now, following Milton, this year's names include Nadine, Oscar, Patty, Raphael, Sarah, Tony, Valerie, and William. If you have a good question, just email us. Good question at WKYT.com. I'll see you WKYT Mornings.